Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be talking with Hashoshi because I want to get his take on EIP 1559, the Ethereum update that happened a couple of weeks ago, and the update slated to come out on September the 12th for Cardano. I want to get his take on what that has done and will do to the Ethereum and the Cardano price. We are joined by Hashoshi. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you.
I'm doing really well. Really excited we got to do this. Great to be on the show, and happy to chat about this stuff today.
Absolutely. Guys, before we even get started, hit the links down below. Go follow Hashoshi. Go subscribe to his channel. Go follow his Twitter. Go do all that stuff. This guy is a genius, and he makes some great content, and you should definitely check out his channel. He and I, actually, you and I, we're like the exact same size. I think we both have about the exact same number of subs. It's really funny. Guys, make sure to go check out his content. He's got some great stuff. But today, I want to talk a little bit about Ethereum. Hashoshi, I know you have done some content recently on EIP 1559, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it from a tech standpoint. Do you think, what do you think about the controversy that had surrounded EIP 1559? Where do you lean on that? And what kind of impact do you think it'll have on the price of Ethereum?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, I think over the years, you know, and this was in the plans, this was being designed and built and talked about for years before now. And it had come around and been talked about. There was this concern about, you know, flipping to a mechanism where a base fee on a transaction for Ethereum is burned was a huge contention because people were like, okay, well, miners today that on the Ethereum network are predominantly paid in those fees. So if we take that away, are miners going to be at risk of creating a contentious hard fork? Are miners going to just stop participating in Ethereum altogether? There was a lot of concern there. I even called for a bunch of research, I guess, a year and a half ago. Like, we need to be sure that this is going to work the way we think it is before we push it into a formal hard fork and put it out there. Long story short, here we are. The London hard fork happened in early August. EIP 1559 took hold, and it did shift the entire fee market around Ethereum to this base fee burning mechanism, which has worked swimmingly. I think that the big thing that people were confused about before this update is, oh, this is going to fix high transaction fees. And I understand why people thought that because it kind of spread like a rumor in the community. But the Ethereum Foundation and folks that were involved in the research behind this were very clear. This is not going to fix high fees on Ethereum. The only thing that can fix high fees on Ethereum is scalability, which comes from layer 2s, from side chains like Polygon, if you're into that kind of thing. But on the layer 1, on the Ethereum mainnet, the only thing that will fix the high fees problem is Ethereum 2.0. So there's going to be time to wait there. But what EIP 1559 really did is it's introducing some back pressure or some reduction in the issuance rate or the inflation rate of Ether, the core cryptocurrency that underpins the Ethereum blockchain. And that in and of itself is good for the price of Ether, but it's also really good in terms of the fact that it makes fees more predictable. They'll be predictably high during times of high congestion and predictably low during periods of low congestion. What that really means is that when you go on and you try and buy an NFT on MetaMask, you go in, it calculates a fee for you. You're at a much less likely to overpay for fees because you're making a big guess as to what other transactions are paying at the same time as you in high congestion. That was the major issue. Basically, users of Ethereum were paying way too much to secure the network in terms of their overall security subsidy, if you will. That's what this was going to fix. And we've seen a lot of positive price pressure as a result of this update, and miners have remained profitable. So in my book, it's a success.
That's awesome. Yeah. So EIP 1559 coming out, like you said, had been in the cards for a long time. And on the channel, I'll be honest, I knew it was coming out when I forgot the exact day now, but when it was coming out, I told people, you know, I think it's going to come out and then the price is going to drop. It didn't do that. EIP 1559 came out and the price moonshot. I was wrong. A lot of times we see things like, for example, the Coinbase IPO happened the day we hit all-time high, or it hit a local high. As soon as it happened, we crashed. We saw CME futures and CBOE futures contracts start in December 17, 2017, drop 80% the next 2 months. You know, we see a lot of these launches happen and then the price crashes. That didn't happen with the EIP 1559. I wonder if the reason for that is because Ethereum is the foundation that so many very valuable now DeFi projects, some of which are worth over $10 billion like Uniswap, if the foundation of that becoming so moving in the direction of being more rock solid is adding so much value to those projects that it is boosting the value of Ethereum. What do you think I guess what I'm saying is, what impact do you think EIP 1559 had on the price? Do you think Ethereum was going to rally anyway, or do you think EIP 1559 is one of the big reasons why it's rallied so much?
I mean, I think it was going to rally anyway, but I think EIP 1559, for better or for worse, whether it was because people had been sold this sort of overhyped narrative around, oh, Ether supply is going to be deflationary as soon as 1559 hits, which is not true at all,
Yep.
by the way. Not true at all. It is, in fact, burning out of the supply higher than the block subsidy, which is issuance, which is true. So you're reducing the issuance rate, you're reducing the inflation of Ethereum, or sorry, of Ether, but you're not deflating the supply. So I think some of it was a little bit of misplaced hype, and that's just part of the speculative nature of these markets. But the other part of this is that reduction in inflation paired with the utility and just the continued usage of Ethereum is really what's driving the price. And I think people look at 1559 as this incremental step towards ETH 2.0, which is really the thing that's going to carry it forward. We all know, I mean, I love Ethereum. We know that. And I love a bunch of other competitors, right? I like Solana, Cardano, like other projects that are out there. Like, I'm not a maximalist. I think the future is multi-chain. It's true and undeniable that Ethereum's fees are untenable. It cannot last, it cannot stay, and it will be a hard cap for Ethereum in terms of how successful it can be until those fees get fixed with scalability. But I think you can't deny NFTs, DeFi, all sorts of different use cases. The first place you go is to build on Ethereum.
Yeah, I think it's a breath of fresh air that a lot of the valuation in crypto is now actually backed by something other than promises. Because for the first 10 years of crypto, a lot of it was, oh, well, one day Bitcoin will be adopted by a sovereign nation, or one day you'll be able to pay for things in Bitcoin, or one day you'll be able to build a decentralized exchange. I remember 2, 3, 4 years ago when I was newer into the space, people talking about DEXs, like, oh yeah, this is something that'll happen in the future. It's like they made a movie about it in the future, and you're dreaming. Now people are trading on DEXs every single day. Same thing with NFTs. People are, I mean, I talked about this on the video we just did. By the way, go watch that over on Hashoshi's channel. Links down below. We talked about how over on Solana, we saw $6 million worth of NFTs sell in 8 minutes after launch. Just like that. So it's really nice to see real valuation coming into the space. I want to pivot this into a conversation about Cardano, because while a lot of the valuation in Ethereum is now really being built on actual use case, a lot of people make the argument that Cardano is still almost nothing but promises, and its $70 billion market capitalization is all people speculating that it will eventually be able to compete with Ethereum. One, do you think that Cardano is going to be able to effectively compete with Ethereum? And two, what do you have to say to people that say most of Cardano's valuation is speculative for right now?
I mean, I think there is a ton of speculation in it, right? You think about a company that IPOs, right? They might not have a full product. They might not even be profitable yet, and their stock could be worth hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, or whatever, right? Or higher than you think it should be. A lot of the markets, traditional, non-traditional, crypto, wherever you are, is based on speculation. What a belief in the vision of a company, even if they're not all the way there. And so I think that does play a part in Cardano, and that's not a bad thing either, right? Speculating is a part of this space. We have to accept that. In terms of stuff that's already been built, right? I think Cardano maybe doesn't get enough credit because of the fact that there's so much negativity around the delays. And I totally understand that. As a fan of Cardano, I think that it has taken a long time, but there are reasons why it's taken a long time. For me personally, I'm willing to wait. If they're going to get it done, I want it to be done right. So that's fine with me. To others, that might not be the case, and that's totally fine. Cardano, I look at as in terms of achievement to date. You look at their framework, the base ledger, right? It's a multi-asset ledger. It uses the UTXO model, an unspent transaction output model like Bitcoin. And then they're building layers on top of that. You have a really well-tuned proof of stake mechanism for core consensus with stake pools and delegation, really well designed. There's 70+% of the supply of ADA is already locked up in stake pools before really any utility is there. Like, huge. There are things there that say there's some foundation here. And then you look at the smart contracts update. It's being done in such a completely different way than other smart contract platforms that are out there. Totally different. That means two things. One, we can speculate about how much better it will be. And then two, we're also going to have to realize that there will be hiccups. There'll be challenges along the way because it's a new paradigm. So as much as you should be excited about smart contracts, the next big thing is going to be after launch, how quickly is their uptake? How many decentralized applications land on day one? How easy is it for users to participate? But I will say that the biggest thing that Cardano has that Ethereum has that makes Ethereum so successful is it has an absolutely dedicated community.
Yes.
That cares enough to learn how to use a wallet if it's not so easy to use, that cares enough to delegate their ADA to a smaller stake pool to aid in the decentralization of the network. Like, this is an engaged community that understands the project, and that pays dividends when you get to the world of decentralized applications, because you get users. When users start using dApps, more developers start saying, hey, I want to build my thing here because there are users. So I think that's an advantage that Cardano has that might not be fully realized yet. And that's my thought.
It's so great to hear your take on that because, you know, Steve Jobs captivated the world when he unveiled the iPhone. And so many people said, this has never been done before. What about the business people who need to write emails? They need to have actual buttons so that it's easier for them to write emails. What about the people the whataboutism? And now the iPhone is the best-selling phone of all time. I think that's true. I might be wrong on that. So don't fact check. Do you know that? Am I wrong? I might be wrong. Anyway,
I don't know.
It's a very well-selling phone. Apple was worth at one point before this crash, I think it is now too, $2 trillion.
Yeah.
That was a speculative event. When people went and stood in line to buy the first iPhone, for all they knew, they could have spent however much money on a flop and they could have wasted their money. It happens. There were other competitors to the iPhone. Motorola tried to launch a phone and it failed. You know, the thing is, the thing that Apple had going for it was, yes, it had good technology. And by the way, Cardano has fantastic technology. Hashoshi can tell you much more about it than I can. Cardano has fantastic technology. But that's not what makes a project successful, because a lot of things have great technology. There are a lot of people in their bedroom that have some world-changing technology, but because they don't have the investment capital in the community behind them, it'll never see the light of day. The reason that I think Cardano is so special right now is because of exactly what you said. The community behind it is so passionate. The community behind it believes in it because Charles Hodgkinson has given them a real mission to follow. He's a leader, not just of technology, but also of people, and people want to follow him. I think Cardano has a very, very strong use case, but it also has a lot of people that are willing to adopt those dApps and decentralized exchanges day one, the same way people did with the iPhone when it finally came out, because they listened to Steve Jobs and he was a thought leader that they wanted to follow.
Yeah, it's true. And the big thing too is that there's no like ticket to entry to be a maximalist about stuff, right? Like you can appreciate and you can invest, you can heck even support and root for other projects than the one that you're the most heavily invested in, or the one that you believe in the most. Because quite frankly, if you peel back the layers and you think about it, all of us are on the same team, right? Everyone kind of wants the same thing, which is to adopt digital assets, to adopt decentralized technologies, to enable people around the world, wherever you are, to have access to these things. And if that's the case, you should want as many projects to succeed and fail so we can learn as possible. So there's no reason for people to be like, oh, well, if you like Cardano, well, I hate you. Or you like Ethereum, you're terrible. You know, like that doesn't make any sense to me personally.
It's very easy for cryptocurrency to devolve into tribalism. And on that note, I'm not going to ask you if you think Cardano is going to overtake Ethereum, because I want them both to succeed. But I will ask you one final question.
Sure.
I asked my audience this morning, and about 70% of people said yes to this question. And I'm asking this because popular demand, do you think Cardano is going to go to $5 in the next 6 months?
6 months. 6 months might be tough. 12 months, I would be confident. But again, like, it is possible. If you look at how crazy Cardano went in a 6-month period going into 2021, then yeah, it's abundantly possible if this decentralized application launch goes swimmingly, you know, their DeFi ecosystem gets loaded with capital early on. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see. So yeah, it's totally possible. Would I be like placing heavy bets on it? Maybe a little too risky for my blood, but that's just me.
I gave it a 65% chance it does, because I think it's going to go a little bit more parabolic rather than linear. I think we're going to see a lot of crazy price action happening around that 6 to 12 months after smart contracts are online. Because, I mean, you know more about this than I do, but it takes a while to develop these things. And, you know, they got to actually see it launch before they can do some of that work.
Yeah. And it's true. It's like, it's seeing, is there going to, like, this is the thing that I think is missing, and it's totally normal because I think a lot of people come at this from the investing perspective and less so like the tech side of things.
Yep.
You know, the truth is that when you're building any type of technology of any kind, if it's hardware and software, I guess everything that's hardware has some kind of software now, but any of that stuff that you do, you will never get it perfect. And you can set it up for success. You can do everything right, and then there will be issues. And the only way you learn is through failure. So I want people to expect that there will be issues with any new thing. Cardano smart contracts are not going to be immune to failure of any kind. There will be scams. There will be all sorts of things, just like you've seen in every single other community, and projects that launch after Cardano will be the same thing. So just be very mindful, like no matter how great it is, there will always be issues, and just take that as a balance, right? There's always going to be both. It's not the end of the world when things happen. It's a learning experience.
Well, everything in the world is subject to issues except for Hashoshi's thumbnail. Speaking of which, you should click the link down below and go click on some of them because he has some great content, and he definitely deserves more viewership than he has. Hashoshi, are there any final thoughts that you want to leave our audience with before you leave?
Only just my appreciation. I appreciate you, Jeb, for having me on the show. I appreciate everybody who watched the show to hear my thoughts and to watch Jeb and his fantastic questions and his very kind marketing of my stuff. So really appreciate everyone, and hope you have a
figure
great
if they
week.
get to know your thumbnails, then they'll be more inclined to click on it when they see them. And they look really good, by the way. I'm jealous. Matt, where can we follow you? Where can we follow you, Hashoshi?
I am most active on the good old Twitter at Hashoshi4, and on YouTube, of course. I post videos at least once a week, often now more than once a week, which is great. And yeah, really excited about the content that's coming out, and open to suggestions. If you want a tech deep dive on something, give me a shout.
Awesome. Well, Hashoshi, we're going to have you back on the channel because I am definitely not a tech guy. I am a massive nerd and I can build a computer, but I'm not the expert on blockchain and all of this. So I really enjoyed us talking today. Guys, make sure to go follow him on his Twitter and on his YouTube channel. Both of those things will be linked down below. That's all I got. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.